Bom dia para quem é de bom dia, boa noite para quem é da boa noite, 93 para quem é de 93, paz profunda para quem é de paz profunda. Você está no Boteco dos Illuminati. Hoje a gente tem uma convidada internacional, então eu vou pedir primeiro para você apertar aqui subtitles e depois trocar assim, translate to português. E aí você vai conseguir entender o que a gente está falando. And now I will speak in English, because today we have a very great practical magician, a shaman, priestess, bardic singer, and all in one pack. I'm very emotional today. But first, before I introduce our guest, I will introduce the other people from the Boteco dos Illuminatis. The first Morte Súbita, Thiago Tamosauskas.
Olá, boa noite, bom dia, good afternoon, good night for everyone, para todo mundo. É um prazer estar aqui. Hoje eu estou na missão de ficar quieto e aprender. Today I have one mission only, to shut up and learn, and we are great to have student Paramor with us.
And from the Pagan Connection, André Correia.
Hi everyone, I'm very happy to be here and with my lovely friend Susan. Susan, welcome, and I'm here to learn. Like Thiago, like Marcelo, like Vanessa, like everyone. Welcome.
And our last member, Vanessa Lanaro.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Susan. So great to be with you again. And so great to learn from you a little bit more about your magical practice.
And I will introduce our guest from tonight, Susan Marie Paramor. Is that right? She's a magical practitioner. She's an hereditary shaman and witch, high priestess, bardic singer at Stonehenge, Avebury, Kelnish, and many other standing stones. She's a high priestess of the Stonehenge Summer Solstice Festival, the Order of the Guardian of Stonehenge, a member of the British Druid Order, a member of the Order of Bards, Ovates, and Druids. She's a priestess by Arthur Uther Pendragon of the Loyal Arthurian Warband Ritual Singer. She's a crystal bowl, Tibetan bowl, and sound therapist and teacher. Welcome to the Project Mayhem, Susan Paramor.
Hello, I love the name. I love the name of your show, Project Mayhem, because that's just about my life, Project Mayhem. That's a bit like how I live. So, you know, open to everything, and then some of it goes right and some of it goes wrong. So it doesn't really matter, because every lesson you learn, you usually learn it from somewhere where you've gone wrong, so you learn that lesson, which is really good. So I love Project Mayhem. It's part of my life. So
well, we start the first question that we all start that I believe is the most important question here, that is, how did you get here? Once every guest that we invite to the show was a little boy, a little girl, and then like 30, 40 years later, he became a sorcerer, a priestess, and someone who devoted their lives to the magic world. But how did that happen?
How did it happen? Yeah, that's interesting. I had one of my first magical experiences at the age of 7. And I was in a place where there was a waterfall and a tree, and a snake was next to me. And this was not in my country, this was in Cyprus, because my father was in the army. And the snake was black snake. And I heard the snake talking to me. And he said, you know, don't be afraid, I'll be all right. And he sat on the rock beside me in the sun. And we were quite happy there. I was sat under the carob tree, and it spoke to me. So I go back to my parents And I go, oh, I've just seen, I've been with a snake, talking to a snake. When I described the snake, they went, ah! Because it was a bootlace snake, which was one bite and you're dead. And they were so scared, they didn't want me to go there again. But I knew I wasn't going to be hurt by this snake. We sat quietly together. He was in the sun. He came up and sat beside me, and I wasn't afraid, not at all. And also when I was small, I used to see things. I used to see things in technicolor and dream, and I sort of knew I was different. I knew I was different. And then we move on to my life later, when I was married, and then later on when I wasn't, and to how we get to here now, you know, years and years of magical practice, of being in circles, of being a druid. And they say you can't be a druid unless you're a druid. For 21 years. I've gone beyond the 21 years. And, you know, I'm lucky I have my own house with my own small stone circle now. And in time gone by, I've had my own witches circle called Six Sisters of Sarum. And I've also been part of other people's where I write rituals and do things. We all have self-doubt. Everyone has self-doubt. And I was always a very shy person, really quiet. But when I go on the stage and sing, because I'm a Celtic singer, I write my own songs, or when I do a ceremony, they say the Arwen takes over, which means your magical spirit, the Arwen, is coming down upon you and it blesses you. And I never am nervous in circle, and I'm never nervous when I go out, when I'm on that stage and I'm singing my magical songs. So it's something inside of me. That's the answer to the question. There's something inside of me, which people say they can see on my face. I don't know. I'm asking you now. So that, you know, how did I get from there to there? You have to learn and listen and study. And I study a lot. If there's something I'm really interested in, I will study. I'll read books, I will ask people. And that, I think, is the answer to how you get from there to there. But a lot of people can do all of that, but they will not be a singer and stand on stage and sing magical songs, and they will not run a ceremony. But there's something inside of me which says, I want to share this with people. So it's to do with teaching. I like to teach people what I know, but I also like to learn from other people. And every year, I make sure that I do a course of knowledge with one other magical practitioner, so that I learn. It's constantly moving. Don't stay the same. I did one recently about being a death doula. Do you know what that is? Yeah, a death doula, about helping people through to when they die, and being with them and helping them through to that. So that was very interesting. It's called being a friend, Elmort, being a friend of people who are dying. So I learned that last year, and this year I'm going to do something different. So I think it's all to do with never stand still, keep learning, keep moving. But at the same time, if anyone comes in your path who wants to know something, share the knowledge. don't keep it a secret to yourself. Share the knowledge.
This share the knowledge that you said, it was the basis of this program. And I don't know if Andre told you, I was in England in 1989. I went into some rituals. I probably met you before in 1989. You were probably there dancing at Stonehenge, and I was there in August. But I was a little kid. And I was so impressed that some of the shamans, they incorporated spirits, that it changed my life forever. And when I came to Brazil, here in Brazil, we have the Umbanda. I don't know if you are familiar with that.
Yes, yeah.
Candomblé, and we have this phenomenon of the seance and medium. And when I realized that what I saw in England in 1989 and what I saw in Brazil, like in 2000, was the same thing. And then I dedicated my life to this, and then this program, you are the 450 author that we interview in this show. And we are dedicated to interview lots of different point of views. And that's fascinating, because we have interviewed since from shaman, from Norway to people from Africa, and they describe almost the same mechanisms. That's fascinating.
Yeah. So when you try to pin a label on someone, like, oh, people say, are you a witch? And I go, yeah. Oh, well, how can you be a druid as well? Well, I am. And I'm also a shaman. I said, to me, you've made a label out of this, but it is just who I am as a whole, and all of those practices go together for me. They're not contradictory. They are who I am. So it becomes something that you don't, like, if you're going to a ceremony, you get dressed and you go ready and you go. But for me, I do it every day. It is all part of my everyday practice. So here, I'm very lucky because I live less than 15 minutes from Stonehenge. And I live less than 10 minutes from Woodhenge. And I'm not very far. I'm 1 hour. Have you heard of a stone circle called Avebury? Yeah, well, Avebury for me is one of my favorite places. It's a very big stone circle with set like an astrological clock, but it's not just one stone circle. It's all part of a landscape. You have Silbury Hill, and you have the Kennet Long Barrow, which is a burial chamber. And I've done shamanic practice in the burial chamber there, which has an autumn equinox alignment for the sun coming up and going down. And then every one of the stone circles has a different alignment. Some have an alignment to the summer solstice, some have alignment to the winter solstice, some have alignment to the equinoxes. So learning all about that as well, about all the different things that went into building those places. If you're interested, become part of you and your history. And in my head, I always go back in time to when those people built the places. And that's how I write my songs shamanically. I sit in the place and I close my eyes and the spirits come into me. So in one called Tomb of the Eagles, which is on this album, Celestial Stones, that's Avebury there. And there's a tomb up on the Orkney Islands called Tomb of the Eagles. So I felt I want to go there. I've got to go there. this is what happens. I've got to go there. I have to go. And it's like over 750 miles away. It's a long way. So I go to the tomb, and they let me go in very early in the morning. And there is a video on YouTube of this place. And the lady from the museum, I said to her, do you think I could have one of the ancestors, one of the heads of the ancestors, which was over 4,000 years old? Do you think I could have that to be with me while I sing the song in the tomb? And she said, I'll think about it. So I said, okay. So early in the morning, she came in with a shoebox, and I thought, she's going to let me hold this ancestor who would have been buried in this chamber when they found them. Over 360 heads and limbs, and all these eagle claws. So that's why it's called the Tomb of the Eagles, because they did sky burials where they laid the bodies out and the eagles would eat the bodies. That's how that was done. And also they worship the eagle up there, the sea eagle. So I sit there quietly, and I said to the man who was videoing me, can you go out and leave me on my own while I sit with the ancestor? And I felt a hand very firmly go like this on here. I wasn't scared. And then someone tapped me on my shoulder. So I became very serious. He came back in and he said, are you all right? And I went, I'm okay, let's do the filming. So we did the filming. And when I came out, the lady said, has one of the guardians, you've seen one of the guardians, haven't you? And I said, how do you know that? She said, your face. But I asked my mother, who was alive then as a shaman, I said, why did they contact me? Why did I physically feel this? And she said, it's because this was the first time that they had been honored since they were buried there, because I had the food laid out, the flowers, a sheepskin rug, a deer, you know, horns and everything. And you were singing to the ancestors in there. And they were okay with you being there. And I hadn't thought about it like that afterwards, but that was a very spiritual experience. It affected my body and everything in me for at least 3 weeks afterwards. So you can, well, that was very special. It doesn't happen every day, something like that. But it did. And that was during the filming of that song. So when you see the picture of me in there, you'll see my face is very serious. So there you go.
And what you said is just fascinating, because we do have some tales just like yours from the African people. When they write specific songs about the specific spirits in Umbanda and Candomblé, they do the exactly same ritual. And of course, they didn't talk to you, or you didn't talk to them, and the spirits, they answered to our prayers anywhere in the world. I believe in the same way.
Yeah,
for us, in the Mayhem Project, we consider it science. Although the traditional science does not consider magic science, I believe that there is something out there. And it's fascinating, this way of speaking to spirits and the ancestor, speak to ourselves. And the way they answer to you is just fascinating.
Well, there was one time I was filming, no, a photograph was taken, a photograph, that's off this album as well. Oh yeah, winter solstice at Stonehenge, and the snow was on the ground, and we're in ceremony, and somebody took a photograph. Now, we didn't see this, but we felt this. And in the photograph, above the stones, looking down on us, are these figures in mist, 3 great big giants looking down on us, and they're in the shape of mist. When we saw the photo, we were like, that's the guardians. That's the guardians of Stonehenge. And that's winter solstice ceremony were looking down on us. Now, we didn't know there was physical evidence of that when the photo was taken. But there was. And my song about the winter solstice is all about the burial of the ancestors at Stonehenge. The ancestors the archaeologists removed some of the bones, the charred bones, from underneath the Aubrey hole, and they promised to put them back, and they didn't. And so therefore the balance at Stonehenge is out. And my song was, please put them back. I see, Andre, what was it you want to ask, Andre?
Yeah, you were talking about the spirits in the rituals. How do you feel the spirits inside the stone circles in your rituals? And if is different the energy and the spirits in other in Stonehenge, Avebury, Callanish, how do you feel the difference between the spirits?
Okay, every place was built by different people, you know, different tribes. It was all tribes. So different tribes would have different feelings, and they'd have different reasons for building the stone circles and also the burial chambers. I mean, around Stonehenge, the burial mounds, there's so many of them, it's unbelievable. And again, up in Scotland and also around Avebury, there's lots and lots of burial mounds. So those places were so important that you wanted to be buried near them. So they must have had some magical pull. They must have had something why they wanted to be around them. And why do 22,000 people at summer solstice go to Stonehenge? I've been there and I've sang when there were 31,000 people there. Why do they feel drawn to go to such a place? So I've also been in Stonehenge when there's only been a few people, like 4 or 5 or 6 in private ceremonies. And one of them that I did on my birthday, and the sun was coming down. My birthday's July the 9th, and I'm the one of 9 children. So 9 is a very lucky number for me. So I was in there and I was doing drumming, because we believe in not taking everything from a sacred place, but giving something back. So either singing, drumming, playing a didge, playing a flute, like the flute you gave me. That I'm not very good at playing, but never mind. It makes me happy. So you're asking about the spirit. So I'm telling you, going back in time, it must have been a magical place, each one of these places, for you to want to be buried near it. To be honest, a lot of people want their ashes scattered at Stonehenge. English heritage don't like it. But let's just say it gets done. It gets done. So when I'm there, and depending on the people that you're with, because it can be very disruptive with thousands of people. How can you feel a spirit when there's thousands of people there? They raise the energy there when there's thousands of people. The energy is raised. It's different. When you go in and you're on your own, or there's very few people, that's when you can focus on the spirit of the place. And that's when you can feel what is there. Stonehenge, the blue stones that come from Wales, the small inner circle ones, which were there, I believe, first. I had a very, very spiritual, magical experience there, which I put in my song about the summer solstice. I leaned against the stone, I closed my eyes, and it sucked me into another world. Literally, I went somewhere else. I didn't expect that to happen. It just happened. And people behind me said I was doing this with my hands on the stones. I get goosebumps when I think about it. And apparently I was doing this. I had no knowledge that I was doing that until I came out of it. And I wanted to stay there. And the spirit of the place wanted me to stay there. And I said, I think I have to go back. I think I've got to go. But I was lost in a completely different land. And I said, I think I have to go back. And they went, no, stay here. But I knew if I stayed there, I was going to die. That I would have physically died with my own body outside of this. But they wanted me to be there so much. And I literally had to pull myself back from it, the spirit of the place. So being drawn to a place and having that feeling around you, I don't think I would have had that if there were a lot of people around me, but if there's thousands there, it's difficult to get that. But if you go to, so I did come out, and again, people said I was dazed. I couldn't even speak. And I had Arthur Pendragon came back with me, you know, Uther Pendragon, head of the Arthurian war band, and they were in my house. And my head was like this all over the place because I'd been drawn into another world. And I think for again about 2 weeks I was different. But the difference between each site is different. There is completely different feel to each site. Calanesh, I love Calanesh. Up on you have to go across the water. It's a real journey to the place, and it has the moon feeling. And the reason Calanesh was built was because of the landscape of the mountain goes like that, like a woman lying on her side. And it has a moon alignment, and once a year it has the solstice alignment as well. The sun, Lord's sun comes up. But the moon, once every 17 and a half years, comes around, goes over the woman, disappears for about 2 minutes. And people go, oh, where's it gone? And then they have 2 massive pillars, and the priest used to stand in the middle of the pillar, and you wait 1, 2, 3, 4, and the moon comes above him like that.
Wow.
I need to go there. So each place has a different spiritual feeling, and each place I've had a different experience. And I think you've got to be open to that. All it is about being open to it and not closing in. Okay. Is that, you want to ask another question?
Can I?
Yeah, sure. Shut me up.
You use one word, journey. Can you tell us about your spiritual journey and the 9-year journey?
Ah, that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize at the time it was going to be 9 years, but it was, because I was living it. And afterwards, when I look back, I thought, oh, that's nearly 9 years. What's happened here? So I was going to write an album about all the standing stones in Europe and all over the world and England. And my producer said, why didn't you just write them about England first? And I went, oh, okay, fair enough. England and Ireland and Scotland and Wales. England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales. So I went, oh, okay, that won't take me long. It took me 9 years because I couldn't just write about them. I had to go to them. I had to be there. Then I had to come away, think about it, take the song that came to me at the place around all the pagan camps. And I sit by campfires and I sing the song with my drum. It wasn't this drum, it was a bigger drum. And then make the song work and then record it. Then I would go back to the place, whether it's 50 miles away, 200 or 750, and sing the song back to the place. So each song was taking me a year. But I learned so much on that journey. I learned so much going to all the sacred places. And then finally, celestial stones came out. But I have, yes, Newgrange in Ireland. That's a big place. So I'm sure if anyone wants to look it up, Callanish, that's in Scotland on the Isle of Lewis, Newgrange, Avebury, which is less than an hour from where I am, Stonehenge, and a place in Anglesey in Wales called Brinkethly Dew, which means the dark grove. And the dark grove is about the dark oak trees. And then Tomb of the Eagles. But I also wrote one about yew trees. I mean, in every religion, there is a world tree, isn't there? A tree that means lots of things. And for me and for us in the Druids, the yew tree is like a very, very sacred tree. So I don't think you have them in Brazil, but they grow, they're very slow to grow. So if you see a big yew tree, big, and the arms go up and come down onto the ground, and they out of the branches, they grow their own trees. So you get a yew grove. So you get a grove of trees growing out of the mother tree. And they're considered really sacred. They're also considered with death because they're so long in growing. And I studied for 2 years about yew trees. This was part of the journey as well. And I went to all the sacred yew trees and the old ones. And one of them is 6,500 years old. Yes, yes. And I wrote a song about, I incorporated my yew tree, which is up here, in the woods, a yew grove, the mother tree, and this tree. And I wrote about the yew trees, about them being there. I was here before the bones. I was here before the stones. I was here before the churches. And the Christians tended to plant a church next to a sacred yew tree, because as druids and pagans, we were worshipping the yew trees. So they put a church next to it. So that was part of that journey. So I learned so much about yew trees. And do you know they're highly poisonous? The Celtic warriors would eat the arils, the little tiny berries, make a paste of them and eat them to commit suicide rather than be captured. But they are good in other ways. They're used in the therapy for cancer. Yeah, they're used in the psychotoxic therapy for cancer. So that was part of that journey, and it took a long time. But actually, when I look back on it, I thought about writing a book about it. It was a magical journey, but everyone has their own journey. Everyone has their own. I might sing a song in a minute. I'll do a song for you. So what else would you like to know?
Let's see. I do have some questions. You talk so much about Stonehenge, and we got some questions that people, they want for you to tell us a little bit about this history of Stonehenge. Who built it and why, and what was it used for?
Well,
because there are so many stories involving aliens and things bizarre and stuff.
no, not aliens.
What's the real deal? Why
No,
build it and
aliens.
why?
I mean,
And how?
it was built in stages, and you can go back to it. First of all, they used to say 3,500 years ago, but now they're thinking much further back, that it was over 4,000 years ago. And the reason, why do people go to a place why do they go there first of all? And there's a small place near there called Amesbury. And outside Amesbury is a little tiny, the river runs, the River Avon, and it's called Blickmead. And a lot of people will not have heard it. It's on private land. But at Blickmead, they found, going back 4,000 years, they found there were settlements there. So people had settled by the river. And they think the reason they settled there was, one, there was water, and two, maybe, animals for them, and also magic, because the flint at Blickmead is pink and red. It's dyed by the oxides in the river. And so when you pick it up, it looks magical. It looks different. So sometimes magic brings people to places. Now that's less than a mile from Stonehenge. So Stonehenge is on a hill, sort of just slightly raised like that. And then there's the great big cursor coming around. And it's, although people go there at summer solstice, it is also recognized that people went there at winter solstice. So at a place called, if anyone's making notes, Durrington Wolls, close by, they found Woodhenge, and they think it was covered in, and they found lots and lots of bones where people had been feasting, and the bones were found there, thousands and thousands and thousands. So they were gathering there and walking to Stonehenge. Now, in my head, when I went back in time, they were coming from up the Orkneys and walking and coming down. And I always see it, them carrying their dead. They're carrying their ancestors. And I see them coming to this place at winter, not just to feast, because Yule was a time of feasting when you ate your cattle and different things. But I also see it a place of the dead, because there are so many burial mounds there. So it has a huge draw with people wanting to go, and they have a photograph in front of it and this and that. But a lot of people go for spiritual reasons when you are allowed in for free. So anyone coming to England, plan your time to get in for free. Spring equinox, autumn equinox, solstice, summer solstice, and winter solstice. English Heritage allow the pagans in for free in the morning before the sun comes up, and then we go in and we can see the sun come up. And at summer solstice, they let us be there longer. They should let us be there all day, really, but they won't. So those are times to go there and enjoy it with lots of other people. And then also there are private ceremonies there with druids. I go with the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids, and I go with druids, and with other people, private ceremonies are allowed in there. So it has a massive draw, and we talk about, it wasn't built all in one go. It was built in stages and then left for a while, and then people would come back to it, and then left for a while, and then people would come back to it. So, you know, you can say one tribe built it, but they didn't. But it would have been a massive effort if you think they had no tractors to draw the stones. They had no cutting tools. It was hitting with stones. So to make and build that, there must have been an overpowering will to do it, and an organization of people wanting to do that. I mean, in Egypt, they were building tombs. Here we were building these. Some people build places and they think it's part of an honor to do so. And other people build places because there's some money there, like the tomb painters in the Egyptian, they were paid money and food and beer. So maybe you got some food for building it, but it would have been built in between the times that they were either hunting or farming. They wouldn't have done it. They would have done it in the fallow time, what they call the fallow time of building. So it wasn't just one person, it wasn't just one tribe, and it wasn't 100 years. It could have been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And as it developed, you know, like that. And all of them, I would say the same about most of them. And they're all usually built with local stone. Stonehenge is unusual. Some of the stone comes from hundreds and hundreds of miles away, the blue stones. Now, if you look at the blue stones, and they don't clean them anymore because they have lichen on them growing, they look like, I've got a piece in my car. If it's cleaned and polished, a piece of blue stone, it looks like the stars. It looks like the sky. and it's bluey green with little white stars on it. So they must have thought the stone was magical. There you go.
I have a question here about what is currently celebrated in those stone circles, but I would ask you another question before that. It changed the way they celebrated the rituals. Stonehenge was that famous like 20, 30, 40 years ago, because today I believe that there was like 20,000, 30,000 people every solstice and equinox and things like that. So how do you see this evolution? I would say the word evolution of people going to Stonehenge. Isn't it just tourists? Or do you think that most of them do have some spiritual connection with Stonehenge?
The Stonehenge has become what we call the cash cow of English heritage, who manage it. They make most of their money from Stonehenge, and with that money they then save other places. To us as pagans, we're not very happy about that because they don't let us in there enough. And in my head, there should always be an eternal flame there. We should have someone always with an eternal flame, like they had in Ireland for Bridget, and she became Saint Bridget. And there is a place in Ireland that has an eternal flame, and they've started to do it again, which I'm happy to say. So it's become a money maker for people. But the solstices, I think people who are not religious in any way are looking for something. And when I've been a high priestess there in my druid robes, you've got some pictures, have you, Andre? Yeah. Put a picture up of the druid outfit.
I sent to Marcelo. I don't know how to.
Okay, all right, never mind.
Share.
So I go there and I stay. You're allowed there all through the night before the sun comes up. And always coming up to me, I try to go from one side to the other, and I can't because I'm stopped all the time. And people ask me why I am a druid, why I'm there, what can they do to become one? Is it spiritual? So they're constantly looking for something spiritual. They're looking for something in their lives. And that the people that turn up to the spring equinox, autumn equinox, and the solstices, if they're not already a druid, that's me at Glastonbury, actually, and that's the tour behind me. So that's not my druid outfit, but never mind. That's me at Glastonbury. So if you were asking about another spiritual place, Glastonbury is another one. So why do they go there, thousands of people, to go and be cold all through the night, freezing cold? Why do they wait for the sun to come up? And everyone cheers when the sun comes up and they blow. Why do people do that? Because people need something spiritual. That's the one. That's me at Stonehenge. I think that was autumn equinox, that one, recently. So you can see all the people in there. They're allowed in there at these equinoxes. They don't have to be a pagan or anything, but why are they there? Why are they there? Why have they come all the way from London? And some of them come from across the world to come to these. So I think they're looking for something, and people need ritual. They need something in their lives. Whether they find it there or not, I don't know. But we always try to help with that when we're there. And I also do ceremonies when I'm there. We do a ceremony in the middle, and then we do a ceremony down by the heel stone where I sing. I usually sing my goddess song. And we also try to help people towards their spiritual path. I think they're looking for something. That's why they come. They're looking for something. They want to believe in something. You know, when you have a funeral, or if you want to call it a life celebration, people need that ritual of burying somebody. And that has never changed from the time they buried them in the, around Stonehenge to now. They need that ceremony. Something, it fulfills a need. That's what I think. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. Yes. Do they perform all the 8 festivals or the 4 mains? What festivals are held in Stonehenge? And the other stone circles, if you can.
Only in Stonehenge, only the equinoxes and the solstices. Beltane and Yule is held there, and winter in the Druid is Alban, the light of Arthur. And then the spring equinox, Alban Elia, the light of the year. And then Alban Elfred, the light of the water. So we call them slightly different things. But Beltane is like a fire ritual, which is not held there. So we, as pagans, hold 8. We're on a winner. We've got 8 festivals a year, so we're never very far away from another festival, are we?
No.
So how did we do that? Well, there you go. So you've got Yule, and then you've got Imbolc, where we've just had Imbolc here, where the snowdrops come up, and that new life is coming through the snow. And then this one coming soon is the spring equinox, and people now seem to call it Ostara, which is the Easter eggs, and the Christians made it Easter, so closest to Easter. But spring equinox, again that the summer is coming, and a lot of the stone circles, especially in Callanish, it's been measured. And in the Avebury, it's an astrological clock. So when the sun came round and they could see it was coming round, the priest would say, plant your seeds now. So a lot of it was to do with that as well. And they could see the alignments with the stars. They knew more about the stars than we know now with our modern computers. So then you've got Beltane, the fire one, Litha, summer solstice, Lughnasadh is in August, and I do a big pagan camp. So generally speaking, those are celebrated in big pagan festival camps, which you've got a couple over in Brazil, which hopefully next year I'm going to come to, Andre. And we have camps here where pagans meet together, and we do the celebration in ceremony in circle. We have music, we have dancing, people giving lectures, all sorts of things going on. So those are celebrated like that. Now Samhain, or Halloween as it is in some countries, is the biggest one of the year, and there are a lot of pagan bulls. They have, like, people dress up and celebrate Samhain, but we also remember the ancestors. Now the ancestors are remembered, and they call it the thinning of the veil. I've just written a song about that, about the thinning of the veil. Let me see. I can't remember. It's a new song. Yeah, I haven't even performed it on stage yet. I'm just teaching my guitarist the song. So, oh, where is it? Oh yeah, it's called The Gathering. It's called The Gathering. So we celebrate those other ones. We celebrate those not in the stone circles, but we celebrate them together in places, gatherings. We have gatherings. Let me see. On my drumstick, I got so many things. Oh, there it is. This is the one that Andre made me. So this one's called The Gathering. So no one's heard this one. It's on my new album, and it's about gathering. Hang on, it's on this album. Yeah. It's called In the Arms of the Goddess. In the Arms of the Goddess. So this was a collaboration, which I'd like to talk about collaborations in a minute. See that beautiful picture? That is epitomizing my yew tree, the mother goddess, by an artist called Naomi Cornuck. And I, again, sharing and being with other pagans, including Ashley Cruz in America. I do quite a lot of collaborations with other people. It's not about keeping everything to yourself. It's about sharing with other people and being open about it. So I'm just going to do a little bit of this one. It's about people gathering in the moonlight. Gather in sight of a moonlit night at the thinning of the veil. Gather in sight of a moonlit night and draw the moon right down, where bears dance in a forest clearing, doe and stag 'neath a shady glade, salmon leap a silver stream, horny toad croaks by a murky pond, strong spells are cast with wands aloft at the thinning of the veil. Strong spells are cast with wands aloft at the thinning of the veil, where rounds of fairy rings are found, white horse carved on a mountain hill, fiery guiding spirit fox, wolf cub plays in a mountain cave. All together. Strong spells are cast with wands aloft at the thinning of the veil. Strong spells are cast with wands aloft at the thinning of the veil. We gather in sight of a moonlit night and draw the moon right down. We gather in sight of a moonlit night at the thinning of the veil. That's just part of it. So you're the first to hear that.
Well,
Now I have a question.
Oh, right. Okay.
Are you on Spotify?
Yeah. I'm on Spotify, but I have my own website. It's much better to buy from my own website, which I think Andre's got. It's pagansongs.com. So
Okay.
it's better for artists. I am on Spotify, I'm on lots of things.
Okay.
As Cardia, Cardia, Cardia.
yeah. For those who are listening to us on YouTube, all the links that Susan gave us, they will be here on the description of the video.
Okay, so Cardia means core, the deity, and core is a goddess, and core is the corn goddess. Corn, Koar. So Cardia means the corn goddess. That's what I chose the name, and everybody went, what does that mean? So I collaborate with a lot of people, like this lady, Naomi Cornock. Oh, I don't think I've sent that to you, but I will. Naomi Cornock. But she is a pagan artist. Yes, he's got her oracle cards. But this drawing is the story of my journey of my latest album and songs. So it was another journey. It was a journey about death and rebirth. I lost my mother. I lost my partner. Yes, and that's one of her pictures as well. She's an amazing pagan artist. I gave 2 of her big flags to the museum at São Paulo. They're hanging in São Paulo, her work. So I celebrate with witches at these. I celebrate with the Druids. I meet with the Druids in Glastonbury, which I consider another sacred place. I don't know if you've heard of Glastonbury, where the chalice well is, where the picture of me with the sword, the Tor. Lots of pagans go there, but lots of Christians go there as well. So part of my journey, singing, I was head of a cathedral choir because I was such a good singer. So they made me head of a cathedral choir. And very often I am asked to do stuff in a Christian thing. And I'm singing about naked people dancing in moonlight. But it's about being open and about sharing things. So some of my history, we'll go back a little bit, where my grandmother and my mother, who taught me the lore, L-O-R-E, of fairies, about fairies and pixies. Do you know about fairies and pixies? You know about fairies, but pixies are, they're different. They're naughty, very naughty pixies. They have like pointed hats, pointed ears, and they're usually dressed in green, and they're small people. And in Cornwall and Devon, we have a history of pixies and fairies. And my grandmother and my mother taught me about these people. And they believe in time gone by that there was a race of very, very short, dark people. And they might have been called the Picts. They had those up in Scotland as well. Very, very short. But the belief in pixies and fairies is very, very strong down there. And that in Ireland, it's very strong as well about fairies. And at certain times of the year, like midsummer, you leave milk and bread out for the fairies. and you appease them in case they come and they turn your milk sour, or they do something like this. They've always got a little trick. So people's idea of like fairies with fairy wings or like that, actually, they can be quite malevolent. And so you have to make sure you don't upset them. So I was taught a lot of this history, and my mother had pixies and fairies around her garden, guarding her house. And one day I thought I'd take a photo, and she went mad. My mother went mad. She said, never take a picture of a fairy. You've got to wipe that out. You've got to take that off your camera now. And I said, oh, why not? She said, oh, they don't like their pictures being taken. And my mother truly, truly believed that. And she said, no, 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 leave them where they are. Don't touch them, leave them. So very strong beliefs there. And she also taught me about the witches in Cornwall, the history and legends of the witch trials. She was a poetess. My mother was a poetess. She is under the name, she's published poet. And I have a suitcase of her poetry unpublished. Some of it's published and some isn't. But she taught me about Anne Piers of Padstow, the pirate witch. And she was a pirate witch. And at least 9 of them went to Launceston jail about that time, around 1581, 1600s. Anne Jeffreys, Mary Clarkson, Jane Nell, Betty Sneeze, Mary Guy and Mary Day. And there is a tower there, and they call it the Witch's Tower because she was burnt against the tower. So she taught me about what happened down there. Now, witches, going back in time, tying it in with what we are now, were what they call cunning people. Cunning people. Every village had a cunning woman, and that was the woman who birthed your children, who had the herbs, cured you, helped you out when you had a cough, and you always went to the cunning woman. And then when James, the king at that time, persecuted for some reason of his own witches, thousands and thousands of women, including cunning women, were murdered, because if they didn't cure you of, let's say it was tuberculosis and you died, they would say they bewitched you. So that history was taught to me as well. So we don't have that fear now, but there are still places in Scotland, still places where you can't say you're a witch.
Even to this day?
Yes.
Oh my. Well,
Yes.
here in Brazil, you can't say you're a witch. We have been, last week, we had a friend of ours who were killed just because he was a gay man and a witch. And they lured him, some sociopaths killed him and set him on fire in São Paulo in the 21st century.
No.
My neighbor.
No. Oh, I didn't know that, Andre. No,
So,
they don't quite go that far.
Yeah.
But you're ostracized, because some of the places up in Scotland are still very, very strong Christian. So you can be ostracized. You won't get the job. You know, you won't advance. So they keep it a secret. But a lot, like I can give an example in Italy, where around the Naples area, Pompeii, there is a very, very strong, long going back witch based, or if you want to call it folklore based. And at the same time, they have to pretend that they're Catholic. So they still go to church, but when they come home, they've got their altar at home. And it's openly known that they are witches, but they daren't show it. You know, they don't do it big time, open. So a lot of people have joined our Druid orders, because you can actually be a Christian and a Druid at the same time. So yeah, there is some prejudice around. I think a lot of like in New York and places like that, it doesn't really matter so much. I think when it comes to places where people are more small-minded, that this is where it happens. I'm very sorry to hear that about somebody. I'm really, really sorry to hear that. I hope was it anybody I knew, Andre? Did I know the person?
Yeah, it was. I don't live with him. It's not my personal friend, but I know him.
Right.
I think he was on the museum that day when you
In
played
the
there.
museum with me.
Yeah.
I
He
think
was
I
there.
know. What was his name?
Thiago.
I know who it is.
Oh,
Right. I'm very sorry about
I'm
that.
sorry to give you this bad
No,
news.
I'm because it answers a question. It answers a question. So I think what we might do a really small meditation for that person and for anybody else who's lost their life to that. So okay.
This episode will be dedicated to him and the work that he did in the museum.
Yeah. So if you just take a deep breath in. One for the sky. Another deep breath. One for the earth. Another deep breath. And one for the spirit. And just imagine yourself sat on the green grass. And in front of you is a small candle. The candle is light and bright. Focus on the candle. Focus on the light in the candle. Look at the candle, see the flame flickering. And think of the people who've gone before us. Now, in the candle and the flame, you can see them walking towards you. You see the people coming out of the flame, walking towards you. And know that they're with you in their spirit, and you're with them. And everything they've learnt, they'll pass the knowledge on to you. Take a deep breath and blow the candle out. Watch the smoke rise. It'll go right up, right up, right up to the sky. And watch the spirit of those people float away. What you're left with is their knowledge and their joy. Take a deep breath. Breathe out. One for the sky. Take a deep breath. Breathe out. one for the earth. Take a deep breath. Breathe out. One for the spirit. 1, 2, 3. Open your eyes. It's very short.
Very short, but very deep. Thank you
Very
so
universal.
much for this
Everyone who's
interview,
watching us
Susan.
can participate.
Well, I do guided meditations. I have over 60 Tibetan bowls upstairs. I have a meditation room, and I do Tibetan bowl sound therapy and guided meditations, and I do them at the big pagan festivals. I do guided meditations with people, but they usually last about 45 minutes. So, you know. And is there anyone else who's got any more questions at all?
No, we asked you all the questions that we marked. It was brilliant. Thank you so much for your time. It was delightful.
That's yeah. But do you know, that's like, thank you for sharing that with me about that, because it is about sharing things like that, and it is about us seeing it not as a complete negative. Out of something like that, something positive can come out of those things. So his name has been spoken. He will never be forgotten, and his spirit will walk with us as well. So that's what I think. That's one of the reasons we were doing this today.
Yeah. Well, we are getting to the end of the show. Thiago Tamosauskas, you have any final words?
Yeah, I have to thank you very much for your time, for your lessons. You are not only a good teacher, but you are a live lesson for us. We learn a lot of things. I love these tree breathing things. I'm going to incorporate it in my daily practice. We learned about the search for ancestrality, the being opening, sharing things, don't mess with pixies. So
don't mess with pixies.
Yeah, we have some of them here with other names. So just thank you very much.
That's my pleasure, and it's only about that much of stuff. Another time, maybe I'll sing you more songs, because that's part of my journey as well. Every song is a journey. And one of the things I teach is what I call an inner God and Goddess workshop. And I do it through songs and chanting. And then I get people to write their own songs and chanting, because it's about your journey. It's not about me. It's about how I can help you on your journey. So one day we will do one of those as well.
Yes, and you'll come to Brazil again, and then we'll.
I'm planning. I don't know how to say it, Andre. Is it called Paranapiacaba?
Paranapiacaba?
Yeah, that's the one. next year, I want to come and I want to give some workshops and sing. And you may be able to help me, because I would need a guitarist for me to perform my songs. I would love someone who can play guitar to play while I'm singing, and for me to work with them before I come. So I'm asking you all.
Okay.
Is there?
We have interviewed people who play sitar and guitars and magically speaking, and we will help you.
Well, I would love a guitarist who is interested in my songs, so that when I go, I can do a live performance, not just me just singing like this. I want a guitarist with me, and then I'll come and I'll do a drum and voice workshop and some meditations. But I'm planning it. It's going to happen. I'll be there again. Do you go there? Do you go there as well?
Yes, we used to go, and Andrea is always there, and Vanessa, I think she's always there.
Oh, good.
Vanessa Lanaro, last words.
Susan, thank you again. It's always a pleasure to hear you, and thanks for sharing your knowledge, your new song, and all that stories, all that. It was amazing, and we are waiting for you next year in Brazil.
Oh, that's a painting behind me of me at Stonehenge. That behind me is a painting of me at Stonehenge. So yeah, I look forward to that. It'll be lovely, and I'll work it out with Andre about coming over. And I don't know if there's anything else on, but maybe at the same time, if we could do something locally in São Paulo, maybe we could do something locally where I could do some meditations and some workshops. We'll work a date out. I'll come over for about 3 weeks, I think, because when I've been over before, it's been too short.
Thank
So
you.
we could work something out. We could work something out for sure.
Oh, sure.
I say bagels.
Bagels.
Andrea, your last words?
My English is not good to say what I want to say, but I will try. I'm very happy and have you here with us, because you are inspiration to me. You're a teacher, you're a friend, a lovely friend. And you're part of my family, you know this.
I know that.
And so I'm very happy to be here with you and my friends and listen to you and learn with you. It's a big honor to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love being in your house. When I first went to Brazil and I sang the Wicker Man to him, and his whole family sang the Wicker Man. His little boy jumping up and down singing my Wicker Man song, which is on my new album. Hooray! So yeah, happy memories. And I hope to meet you all when I come to Brazil. I hope to meet you all. And that's May, the first week of May.
Probably.
All right. So blessed be. Blessed be.
Thank you so much for your time and patience, Susan, and for all the lessons. And for you that are listening to us, please follow our channel, press the buttons on YouTube. I never know how to speak that, but there are 400 interviews like this in this channel. YouTube does not distribute us a lot because we usually have 1 hour and a half, 2 hours, and they only like videos with 15 minutes, 10 minutes, but we do not care. We're still interviewing the people who needs to be interviewed and the people who are worthy to be interviewed. So please follow the channel, and we'll say and hear you in the next Project Mayhem.
I'll get Andre to give me the to send them to me. Okay, and we'll stay in contact.
All right, you have made some friends today here.
Thank you very much.
And whatever we can help you in Brazil, can count on us.
Find me a guitarist and I can perform. All right.
Bye bye. E para vocês que estão assistindo a gente, até o próximo Boteco dos Illuminati.
Beijo.